Good morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour. Happy Tuesday. Another gorgeous day here in the Valley of the Sun. I'm Joe Jaquint, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group and legal, lawful, constitutional tender. It is what we do here, talking about gold and silver, putting it away where only you know where it's at. A lot of wisdom in that, especially with the paper markets rolling over. Already been a really interesting morning. The Dow's been up, it's been down, it's back up. It's probably going to go back down. We'll try to keep you up to date on that. We've got some data that came out today that we'll talk about. A really, really good source for what is happening globally. Egon von Geiser, he is the head guy at Gold Switzerland. They are the largest privately held vault in the world. He did a huge interview, and actually did several of them. One of them with King World News, where he was talking about what is happening in the gold markets, the role of central banks that may be playing to deceive the gold price. We've got that all coming up, what the Chinese are doing, how they're doing it, how big they're doing it. That's going to be fantastic. In the next segment, we got Kathy Herod coming from the Center of Arizona Policy. Listen, it was time for me to get involved. I'll just say that. We talk about, and I've been talking about it a lot here on the air, about all the blue staters coming here into the red states, and I know we got the midterm election coming up. I mean, the ads are horrible. They're horrible. But we've got to figure out, and we've got to stick together, real, true, conservative thinking. That is the Center for Arizona Policy, and Kathy Herod is the leader there. She's going to join us in the next segment. Tell you about them if you want to get involved with them, or maybe hopefully tell us, hey, here's the hot button issues that are coming, and because that's the other thing too. A lot of these, and I don't know how many of you have already got your ballots. I get an early ballot, and I don't stand in line. I vote early. But these ballots are loaded with what I would call very deceptive language that you don't know which way you're supposed to vote. Right? In other words, hey, well, this is what I want, but I'm not sure if saying yes or no is what's going to give me what I want. So if there's any of those out there, hopefully she'll tell us about those. And again, I encourage all of you listeners out there, get out there and vote. Get out there and vote. And I know it's a lot of the times, I get it. The choices are not great. But it's more than just voting for, whether it's a senator, congressman, whatever it may be, someone in your House of Representatives. It's all the other issues on the ballot. I mean, there's got to be in any one election, there's 4 or 5 different tax increases at a minimum now everywhere. And if you're not careful and you don't get out there and you don't participate, we're going to pay a whole lot more. I mean, I think we're going to socialism, and all of our freedoms are slowly being taken away from us, and they're going to use finances as the way to do it. Right? The more people that cannot afford to sustain themselves, the more they want what? Handout. We're going to talk all about that. Matter of fact, great article in the USA Today talking about the vast majority of jobs does not allow you to have a middle-class lifestyle. Of course, we've been talking about that here for a long, long time. We got that, all kinds of other things as well today if we get to them. I apologize to Colorado. We had an issue in Colorado. Colorado was down yesterday. They're back up. This was actually, for once, not an issue that the station could control. It was an issue that was out of the station's hand. There was something in I don't know how they described it, a circuit box on one of, down the street or wherever it was, and it wasn't functioning properly, and it wasn't sending communications to the state. They had no phones, no internet. All that's been fixed. Welcome back to Colorado. I apologize. I know Jason actually, I think, jumped on the air because the only way we could be on the air in Colorado, you had to be physically in the building. That was it. If it was something like Alex Jones, they streamed over the internet, you couldn't get any of those shows. My show, which is over the phone line, you couldn't do those shows. You had to be in the studio. So I know Jason, he was trying his hardest out there. Give those guys a lot of credit. Him and Brian both. They were working overtime. I think the station ended up getting back up about 8 or 8:30 last night. But hopefully we'll have all of that worked out, and things will be back to normal there as well. Don't forget, go out to the website. A bunch of really good videos out there again today. Take the time. Get yourself educated. Most importantly, make sure you're prepared. Right? What isn't that the Boy Scouts motto? Always be prepared, right? That's it. Be a Boy Scout. Always be prepared. Patriot Radio News Hour. We got the Center for Arizona Policy and Kathy Harrod coming up next. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. And times change. If you would have said to me 10 years ago that we're going to talk about politics and elections and trying to get the right words out to all of our conservative people out there, I would have said, we don't do that. We don't do that. You can get that somewhere else. But times have changed. And it's time for us all to get involved. A good friend of mine got involved with these people over at the Center for Arizona Policy. He started talking to me about it, and and I just said, hey, how can I help? How can I get involved? And this is how. We're going to have Kathy Harrod on right now. Kathy, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Good to be on with you this morning.
Hey, thank you so much for taking some time out. I know the elections are coming up. I'm sure you're really busy. Can you just tell us a little bit about you guys and what it is you stand for and what it is that you do for the great state of Arizona?
Sure. Center for Arizona Policy is a family policy council, is what we would be the type of organization we are. And we advocate. We advocate at the Arizona State Legislature so that families can thrive in Arizona. We work on issues of life, marriage and family, religious freedom, judicial reform, and we advocate for those foundational principles. We advocate for getting good bills passed and bad bills defeated. And then during election season, we work to educate and equip voters on where the candidates stand on the issues that matter.
And that's exactly what we need, right? Because when you sit there, and also we get our sound bites, right? If you listen to the ads that are run on TV, you get some sound bite. You're not even really sure what the issues are about. And then if you're like an early voter and you get the ballots mailed to your house, very confusing stuff out there on a lot of these issues. What are the ones that you guys are focusing on this time around?
Well, what we do in our at azvoterguide.com, you can go on that website. It's our website, and you'll see 10 different questions that we've asked candidates for federal office, 10 questions that we've asked state candidates, and there are a range of issues. There'll be a question about abortion, about parents' rights, about school choice, about taxes. So it's a variety of questions of interest to the general public, and I like to say it's just the facts, ma'am, that we take the answers from candidates and we put it on the website, and then we also have biographical information on the candidates. We have why they are running for office, and if you can put in like where you are and get the list of candidates for your district, so you can have your own interactive guide. We even have a video on how to use the voter guide. So I believe that these are the 10 questions all hit voters kind of where, to get the facts. And what you said about the TV ads, we're all tired of the TV ads, and you can't trust a number of them. And so this is, get the goods. I think the U.S. Senate race is a big focal point, And, for example, Martha McSally answered our voter guide. Kirsten Sinema did not. So we researched objectively to get the answers for where Kirsten Sinema would stand on the same issues.
And how do you feel? Obviously this election now, all of a sudden, Arizona just feels like the liberals feel like this is a state that they can possibly flip here. They've spent an incredible amount of money. Where's all this money coming from to run all these ads?
Well, a lot of the money is coming from out of state. There's a California billionaire by the name of Tom Steyer who has been behind the Prop 127 so-called clean energy measure. He's also put money into the Democrat side. He's put money into state legislative races. And so as far as those who would like to see Arizona become at least purple, if not blue, that's at stake. We've had 10 years in this state of passing strong pro-life measures. We've seen the abortion rate go down. And people like Planned Parenthood and Human Rights Campaign Fund are not happy about that. And so a lot of the money is coming from those interests from out of state as well as within the state. The U.S. Senate race, I think, is going to be more than $50 million. More money than we've ever seen spent in races in Arizona, and that's how high the stakes are.
And when you talk about, let's talk about that water issue. Can you give us information about that and what that really is all about?
Well, I'm not, it's interesting you ask me about water because when people ask me, well, why don't you run for office yourself someday? And my usual answer is, well, I would have to understand water law. And I'm not passionate about it. But I know that basically there's concern about our water supplies and what's going to happen with the drought and that type of thing, and how do we ensure that Arizonans with our growing population have sufficient water reserves, and how do we make sure that happens for the future? It's an issue that's been, I would say, debated behind closed doors, but you've also had legislators traveling statewide to do hearings on water resources and what needs to happen, and so it will be a key issue for the next legislative session. I think religious freedom will be a key issue the next legislative session. What happens with some parental rights issues? There are a lot of issues that pertain to our families, whether it's water, whether it's our utility bills, whether it's being free to live and work according to our faith, or being free to raise our children as we believe God intends us to.
Are there any items on the ballot that are of particular concern for you guys?
Yes, Prop 305. Prop 305 is the measure that would allow the expanded Empowerment Scholarship Account law to go into effect, and this is what enables parents whose children are in district or charter schools and they want to maybe get their children in a private school or get special treatments or therapies for their child. That's what an Empowerment Scholarship Account affords. So we are a strong yes on Prop 305 because it just empowers parents to choose the education that best meets their children's needs. It doesn't rob the taxpayers like the no side might have you believe, but it's really a pro-parents' rights, pro-parental school choice measure, and so we're strong advocates for Prop 305.
Okay, so Prop 305, which I will tell you right now, I am a huge yes on that issue because I believe that as parents, you've got to find the best fit for your child, and for too long, right? They just want you to be, well, this is the government-run school, and everybody fits into that square peg, and that's what you get, and you get all of the, what I'll say, the liberal influence that goes along with being in that square peg. So having the ability to let parents decide where their kids go to school, it's huge.
Absolutely. The other proposition that we're concerned about is Prop 127, and we have recommended a no vote on that, and that's the one that is the so-called, as I say, the so-called Clean Energy Initiative. And the problem with that measure is that it would increase the average family's utility bill by over $1,000 a year. It also would increase the utility bills for churches and schools. And we know that most churches and schools, as well as families, run on very thin margins. And so this just isn't the right way to approach any type of energy needs. So we're a strong no on 127, strong yes on 305.
And can let's talk about 127. Just what's behind that?
Well, what's behind it is the California billionaire Tom Steyer. And if you want to avoid what's happened in California, Actually, on our website, we have a video, Don't California My Arizona, because some of these ideas from California aren't good for our families, aren't good for our state. And it's Tom Steyer trying to bring in his leftist approach on clean energy to where you'd have to have, I think it's 50% of energy sources renewable by a certain date. Arizona's already moving in that direction, and this just, we don't need a California idea on energy to come into our state.
And it's so funny when you talk about that stuff because the average person, and I think you really hit the nail on the head, it's hard enough as it is right now financially for people to make ends meet, and then you've got the millionaires and the billionaires coming down and trying to force their ways into our wallets and our pocketbooks and essentially saying, hey, we want to do this and we want to do it so drastically and dramatically. And I think the point you're making, everyone's moving that way, is it? I mean, it really, as responsibly as we can, but this is an issue, again, all of this money, and this is the part that really got me to want to get involved. All of this money, especially on a lot of these, what I would call the hot button issues, are coming from the blue states. And they come in here and they're trying to really create policy that they have no business in. This is Arizona. Is there anything in place to where we can start to limit the amount of money that's coming in from out of state and the things that are a local issue?
Well, I think that's difficult to limit out-of-state funding coming into local issues because it's still a free speech issue, and by how you with campaign donations and that type of thing. There is disclosure that comes with some of it, but I think that's a little bit hard. I should say we do have money coming in on the conservative side, just not as much, I would say, and not with the same kind of intent, I would say as well. But when we talk about the propositions, I should mention that at azvoterguide.com, we have a summary of all of the propositions on the ballot to where you can see kind of a simple description of what the measure would do and what the pro side says and what the con side says. So that is of use to the voters as well.
Great. And give that site one more time.
It's azvoterguide.com, and we would encourage you to check out that site. We have another website as well with our sister organization that's called CAP Action, and that is azaction.com. And at azaction.com, we have endorsements of candidates. So you can get the unbiased, objective view at azvoterguide.com. If you want to see our endorsements based on the issues we cover as far as life, marriage and family, religious freedom, you can get that at azaction.com.
Kathy, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to educate us. Do you think it'd be possible we could get you back maybe right before the election so we can cover these points again?
Oh, would love to. And let me just mention that if you have an early ballot sitting in your home or office, you need to mail that early ballot in today to make sure it gets received in time to be counted. So we just want to really alert people that today's the day to finish your early ballot and get it in the mail.
Well, great point. I'm so glad you got that in. So all of you, if you're like me and you want to vote early, this is it. It has to be in the mailbox today to make sure that has been counted. Kathy, thank you so much. We appreciated you having us on the program, or having you on our program, and educating us and really giving us a source to where we can go and do the research. Thank you.
Thank you so much. azvoterguide.com and azaction.org. Have a great day.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you so much. So there you go. You know what? Like I said, very, very interesting when you start digging into a lot of these ballot initiatives and where they're coming from, and really the United States. This is what happens. You got all of this inequality out here, and now the very few trying to control what the rest of us do and think. So it's important to be involved, and if not involved, at least be educated. And, for us here, we try to educate you financially, right? I don't love to do political stuff or things of that because you can get it elsewhere. But it's at this point now, and I believe this, we are a nation divided. I think that too many people are out there in a media's perspective creating hate and creating discontent and trying to tell us how we need to think and be and believe. And if you don't think and believe the way we do, somehow you're an evil person. And it's time for us to stand up and make sure that we don't go back. And really, when you think about it, just look at where all of the people are coming from. That's a really good indication of where the failure is. And so, it's not by surprise. I'm not shocked, right? They're all coming. The failures are coming not out of the red states. They're coming out of the blue states. And now states like Arizona, I know Colorado's got the same thing happening there, where a lot of these states that were decidedly red are now really teetering, and it really has gotten nasty. I can't even listen to it anymore. So now you've got some options to get yourself educated. And again, for those of you voting early, today is the deadline. I'll try to get Kathy on one more time before the election gets close, so you can know where to at least to get your facts. When we get back, I know we're coming up on a break here. When we get back, there was some data out today. We're gonna get to that, and then the news out of Egan von Geyser as to what is happening in the physical gold market. You're not going to believe it. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the break.
This is the Phyllis Schlafly Report, a daily broadcast from Phyllis Schlafly Eagles, a national volunteer organization founded by Phyllis Schlafly and continuing to uphold her legacy by honoring family values, opposing radical feminism, and representing a conservative perspective in our nation's capital. Now, the president of Phyllis Schlafly Eagles, Ed Martin.
Net neutrality is as phony as free trade, in that both are wonderful only for those getting the better end of the deal. Google, Facebook, and other California companies have been getting a free ride on net neutrality because it lets them avoid paying for their enormous share of internet traffic. Net neutrality is a fiction invented by Silicon Valley monopolies to stop cable companies from charging them for their huge amount of traffic. Yet these same monopolies do not believe in neutrality in how they conduct their businesses because they censor political content they dislike. The many billions in profits flowing to the Silicon Valley companies is partly due to how they hog traffic on the internet for free without paying their full costs. They avoid paying, for example, the many billions of dollars needed to bring internet service to people's homes. Imagine a toll road where big trucking companies did not have to pay a dime. This would result in overuse of the toll road by trucks and underfunding of road improvements. The free market would be far superior to the phony net neutrality that enriches only Silicon Valley, because the free markets enable the owner to charge fees based on the use of its property. Free enterprise is also better in protecting free speech and preventing censorship. Under the superior, free market-based approach adopted by President Trump, companies that carry internet traffic would be able to negotiate with the traffic hogs to compel them to pay their fair share of costs, rather than freeload off the others. Google and Facebook would then no longer be able to discriminate against conservatives and shift their costs to us too. The public who pays the cable costs could then insist on access to the content they want, which they cannot do now as Silicon Valley censors it. Of course, the Silicon Valley companies do not want any rules of neutrality to apply to them, as they exclude conservatives to appease their liberal base. They demand net neutrality only when it favors them, and oppose any requirement that they be fair to content with which liberals disagree.
This has been the Phyllis Schlafly Report from Phyllis Schlafly Eagles. What's the best way to rekindle the spirit of Phyllis Schlafly and the grassroots movement she energized? In this digital age, patriots and pro-family Americans can find insight and inspiration on our website, phyllisschlafly.com. Then share your own heart and mind on social media. So join us at phyllisschlafly.com and every weekday for the Phyllis Schlafly Report.
800-951-0592. Big earnings coming out. Bye-bye General Electric. The last of the original Dow components, their days are numbered. Shares down 8%. I believe now GE is worth less than it was, talk about buy and hold blowing up, than it was 25 years ago. Let's face it, the only reason people own that stock anymore was for the dividend. The dividend now down to a cent. They cut it all the way down to 1 cent. You know what's so funny? And this is just worth noting. Every once in a while, I'll get out and I'll talk about how after the dot-com bubble, they promised that they were going to protect us. Because remember, the pensions were gone by then, right? The only thing we had is that 401k. And they were going to make sure that these Wall Street companies couldn't deceive us. And they said everybody needed to use generally accepted accounting principles. And they set a date, right, by 2001 or what have you. And as soon as the market went south, so did they. GE's a great example of that. Their adjusted number. Okay, so that's the number most people hear about. They said that they made 6 cents a share. Their generally accepted accounting principle number was a loss of $2.63. I mean, I know that's an extreme case, but it was worth pointing out. By the way, they said GE is going to save about $4 billion because of the dividend cut. And I think let's just face it now, a lot of the companies that had, especially when you're older, that's the thing that a lot of these buy a stock that's got a big dividend. Well, that GE used to be one of those, no longer, and it'll be, I would imagine that by next year GE's probably out of the Dow altogether. That was a big number. We had Case-Shiller out. That was the housing prices. How is the value of homes holding up? Huge declines. Still up year over year, but now the monthly declines are accelerating. Home price appreciation below 6% for the first time this year. Matter of fact, getting ready to go below 5%, and the pace seems to be quickening. But don't worry, they don't see anything like the last housing crash happening. But that was really it on the economic side. Not a lot of data. Again, like I said, the Dow's been up, down, up. Yesterday a wild ride. The other number that was out was the consumer confidence number, and this is why I don't think the pain's not over. All-time record high in consumer confidence. And remember, this is one of the classic top signs. I've been telling you this. Stayed there in October, more pain to come. Also, by the way, the number of people that think that Wall Street will not be down in 2019 also hit a record high. Again, huge top signs. It's just math. That's all it is. But those were the economic data points that were out today. But the story that I wanted to cover, and this really is a big thing in the gold industry, talking about the physical demand and how is it being met. Okay? The two largest gold consumers in the world from countries, right? We already know that. You're like, Joe, we know. It's China and it's India, right? China's number one, India's number two. Between those two countries, they essentially use up 2/3 of all of the available mine supply in the world. And by the way, mine supply continues to fall. And now, at least according to Von Greyer, here's what he thinks is happening in the market. They own, just so you know, his company. They are the largest private vault holder in the world. In other words, they're not a bank. No one holds more gold than they do, but they also do something else. Is they are part of the transaction of getting the gold from New York, England, Switzerland into China. And he did this interview just the other day saying how the money managers for the elite in China have virtually all of their high net worth clients in physical gold. Obviously, the exact opposite is here, right? We are full fiat, and of course, more millionaires and billionaires are being made every day over there than anywhere else in the world. They're all into gold. Virtually all of them own gold. That's what's so interesting. The Chinese buying is continuously going up and up without stopping. The Chinese know what is happening. They know it, and they will continue to buy gold, and one day that's going to be a major influence on the price. I know and I know Jason and Brian, we do a second show, and I apologize for you in Phoenix, but if you go out to Shoutcast in the American Freedom Network, or just Google KHNC right on the page there, hit that listen live button, 2 to 3 Arizona time, 3 to 4 Colorado time, and I know the time's getting ready to change, but you can listen to their show. They have talked on multiple occasions about how the Chinese are very secretly stockpiling gold, and they've been deliberately helping hold the price down until they finish what it is that they're doing. When the paper market breaks and China dominates the gold market, which leads me to believe, we've been saying for a long time, China says, hey, our gold holdings are it's just under 2,000 metric tons. Nobody actually believes that. We just don't know how big it is. But Von Greyer kind of gives us a little insight into that. We're going to talk about what he's seeing and how he thinks it's getting done when we return. 800-951-0592. Just want to correct that. The confidence number, second all-time high. So there's only time higher, but just by a point or two. The only time that was higher, right before the dot-com crash. So right at 2000, right before the big crash, was the only time that number was higher. So kind of let you know this is the end of that party, and I'm summarizing, and I would play Von Greyer. He's just so boring. He's very. I don't know my vocabulary isn't big enough, but he's a very boring talker. He's got a little Ron Paul in him. So I'm summarizing his interview, talking about the physical gold market. The Chinese dominate the market. They are looking forward to the West failing in their manipulation of the gold price through various paper market and through the interbank market. And we've talked about this. Listen, I don't get upset about it. Is gold and silver manipulated by the central banks and the interbank market? Of course. Yes, sure it is. Why do you think they didn't allow for the Americans to own any gold from 33 to 71? Right? They didn't allow you to own gold because they wanted you to, they needed to, it took them 4 decades to brainwash you into this paper stuff. Last month saw imports of gold into Switzerland and this is how it's happening, that were exported into China and India. 70% of the gold imported, import figures from Switzerland came from London and New York. So think about this. So here's Switzerland. They're importing record amounts of gold, the vast majority of which only came from two places. The UK, where the London metals market is, and New York, obviously where our central bank is. We again see that Switzerland is buying 400-ounce bars. So when you are, just to let you know, the COMEX, where the paper gold contracts get traded, right, where you used to be able to get physical delivery of gold bars. You can't do that anymore. They won't let you. The reason is real simple. They don't have enough. But they're and the bars on the COMEX, they're 400 ounces. As an example, when our mint is minting gold eagles or proof gold eagles, buffaloes, whatever gold, half-ounce, quarter-ounce, 10th-ounce gold eagle, they contract, and I think it's Sunshine. I think Sunshine handles the buying for the mint. They tell Sunshine, hey, we want delivery of X amount of ounces. Sunshine buys the 400-ounce bars, and then they turn them into the disc and ship those discs to the mint. And then the mint is the one that stamps them. This is what is flowing into Switzerland. They said the Swiss then convert them into kilo bars. So the kilo bar is 32.15 ounces, a little more manageable, right? A kilo bar is somewhere, between 35 and 40 grand, versus a 400-ounce bar, which is probably, about $500,000, right? So they make it, they put it into bite-sized chunks, if you will. By the way, to do business with these guys, the minimum they'll even accept $250K, right? So you can't even call these guys up unless you want to buy $250,000 worth of gold. Last month, according to the Swiss, there was hardly any buying from the mine. Now, kind of inferring that the mine, everything that they're producing has been gobbled up by London and New York. And it proves again that central banks are either leasing their physical gold, and we've been speculating about this for a long time. How is demand being met? Central banks leasing their physical gold into the market, or he's saying selling it covertly. I hope that's not the case. Do I believe that our central bank leases out gold in Fort Knox? I do. It's the only thing I can think of why we don't audit it. It's not that hard. Right? I mean, you go in there and you count the bricks. Right? And every so often you grab this brick, grab that brick, do a test. I mean, you can probably audit it. Fort Knox is a huge facility. Don't get me wrong. But I think you can get it done in a week pretty easy. But the thing about it is here's what's different. They used to do this all the time, but the gold never left. Now he's saying that they're being forced to deliver, and that the gold that's coming into the market in London and New York, before it used to stay in London and New York and would be traded between various banks. These banks now get the gold from the central bank, and they're giving it an IOU. Patriot Radio News Hour, kind of like the Social Security Trust Fund. Final segment coming up. Final segment, 800-951-0592. So in their words, this is what they believe is happening. That the Chinese, the demand is not relenting, that the gold flowing into Switzerland, these are the 400-ounce COMEX delivery type bars, speculating that central banks are leasing their gold out. I don't know. I will say this, with blockchain technology, you'd think we should be able to know. Right? I mean, right? Hey, where did it come from? Right? And I guess one thing, somehow he says, they're not coming from the mine. Just kind of leads us into this whole thing of how is all of this going to end. And of course, his really a lot higher gold price is exactly what he's thinking. Some of that gold, though, the mint does. They take delivery of 400-ounce bars, like I said, through Sunshine. Yesterday, we ran those proofs. Those 1-ounce American Gold Eagle proof coins. They're $13.25, and we still got like a dozen of them left, and it's the best deal. I mean, this is a proof gold, as an example, proof gold Eagles outside of the last year. They normally, like I said, the Mint website, they're $1,540. We're at $13.25. Normally, in a normal market, I could probably get them, $14 of $95, $1,500. We can get the older dates, kind of like Silver Eagles. The older dates are a little less, but not a lot. Definitely not $225 less. That just tells you where the premiums are at. This is it's a no-brainer. You get the box, you get the cert, you get it all. $1,325. U.S. silver, Eagle silver, it's up a few today. Silver's right at 14.5. Still down 25 cents from the other day. You're going to save $5 a roll on U.S. silver Eagles from yesterday. $365 on rolls of silver Eagles. Gold, Kinko's got it down a little bit, but gold's really unchanged today. There was a lot of moving parts after hours yesterday. The Dow, I don't know where the Dow is going to end up. Right now, it's up about 140, which apparently now up 140 is up 10 points from the old Dow time. So we'll have to watch that. But right now, the Dow's up about 150 points. Gold's down, say, $2 here at $1,225. Silver is actually up a few cents right now, just under $14.50. The American Gold Eagle proofs at $1,325 today at 800-951-0592. You think about a regular gold eagle like $13.70, $13.80. So you're buying proofs for less than an American Gold Eagle. Just a great value. Take the time, add them to your portfolios, put them away, and then let's all hope we don't have to use them. Patriot Radio News Hour. Everybody, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. We'll be back on a hump day tomorrow.